Welcome to our tales of mystery and intrigue. What follows is a journey into the unexplained, the weird, and the baffling. In these tales, there are plenty of questions and not enough answers. Unaccountable disappearances, unknown creatures, terrifying monsters, unearthly visitors, all still mysteries to this day. Perhaps when we can solve these riddles, we shall be nearer the eternal secrets of the universe. Or perhaps we will just discover yet more impossible facts. Who knows? Meanwhile, let's open our eyes wide and see what we shall find. If there's one mystery that's truly homegrown, and one that has so far refused to yield its secret to anyone, it must be the Loch Ness Monster. What is it that lurks in the depths of Scotland's longest, deepest, darkest, most unknown lake? Is it a weird survivor from the Ice Ages? Or a giant, undiscovered species of whale, perhaps? Or even, as some have suggested, a visitor from outer space? Is it really a monster at all? Or merely a folk tale that's too good to give up? For those who do claim to have seen the monster, however, it can be a terrifying, real experience. The year is 1933. It is a sunny July morning, and the newly risen sun glints off the still waters of the mighty Loch. Mr. and Mrs. George Spicer, returning from their holiday in the Highlands, take the dusty, winding road south along the banks of Loch Ness.
What a beautiful morning. You know, I don't think I've ever seen the Loch looking more lovely. Oh, it's a shame to be going home.
Hardly time to... Good grief!
What is it? George! What's that thing?
Good God, that neck must be 16 feet long!
George! George, it's coming towards us!
No, thank God it's crossing the road. Yes, there it goes. Like something out of a museum. That tail! Like a giant dinosaur!
Oh, has it gone?
Almost. We're safe, but no one's going to believe a word of what we've seen.
And so the great Loch Ness Monster legend was born in modern times.
And you say you're from London, do you, sir?
Yes, that's right, officer. I'm a company director. This is my business card.
I see, sir. Now, what exactly was the nature of this wee beastie that's been troubling yourselves, may I ask? I'll need a full description, you know.
It was horrible, horrible. A sort of giant seal with a long neck and horns, all grey like an elephant, and these enormous flippers.
Now then, dear, don't upset yourself again. I think I'd better explain.
It was so frightening. Officer, please.
Well, sir?
Well, now, let me get this right. The thing we saw, I don't know what to call it. Well, it reminded me of a dinosaur, really.
A dinosaur, sir?
Yes, you know, one of those prehistoric monsters that used to roam the earth millions of years ago. A large body like a barrel, about 5 feet high, 4 legs, flippers in fact, and a long, heavy tail dragging on the ground. Whatever it was in a great hurry. It just ran straight across the road in front of us and into the loch. And, well, that's about all we can tell you, officer.
I see, sir.
Except that I'd not be sorry to stay away from Loch Ness for the rest of my life.
Very good, sir. I'll ask my constables to keep an eye out for your monster. Now, if you'd just like to sign the statement here, sir, you can be on your way.
Thank you, officer.
Oh, and one other thing, sir. I'd go easy on our Scotch whiskey. It goes right to the heads of them as aren't used to it, if you know what I mean.
Despite the sergeant's doubts, reports of something in Loch Ness began to pour in after the Spicers' close encounter. Something that reared a long serpent's neck or humps out of the dark waters. Something that streaked across the loch, leaving a wash that no fish or otter could explain. The hotels and pubs on the loch side bulged with tourists and newspaper men, hoping for the story of the century. An American circus owner offered the enormous sum of £20,000 reward for capturing the monster alive. And the locals weren't slow to catch on either.
Can you tell our readers, in your own words, Mr. Mackenzie, just what you saw in the loch yesterday?
Oh, well, but you should have seen what might have been in the brilliant today. You should have some seen here you can.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Mackenzie says he saw the monster clear as day.
And what did the monster look like?
Oh, terrible, terrible. I never gonna see it as long as him here.
What's he say?
Mr. Mackenzie says he'll be needing a wee dram to settle his nerves before he can go on. Oh, and same for myself.
Yet the hard evidence for a creature, or creatures, living in the deep, murky waters of Loch Ness continued to grow. Recently, serious scientific expeditions were mounted to catch, or at least photograph, the beast for all to see. But Nessie, as the monster has been named, refused to come quietly. He or she seemed to prefer a game of hide-and-seek with the world, teasing the thousands of monster watchers and all their high-tech gadgets.
Hey, Captain, I think we got something. It's big, all right. It's 50, 60 feet minimum. Traveling some, too, right in our direction.
Prepare cameras 1 and 2 and hurry.
I'm getting an image in the viewfinder. It's so dark, I can hardly see it. Oh, wait. Gee, the size! I don't believe this.
What is it? Let me see.
The monster, it's a monster. I saw its head. It's like some sort of a nightmare. Horns, great savage mouth and teeth.
Get a hold of yourself, Hank.
Sorry, Captain. Gee, that sure was some ugly mug. Hey, I think it's seen us. It's turning. Heading away and speeding up.
Roll cameras.
It's no good we lost her. That darn Nessie sure don't want to show her face. And with a face like that, I don't blame her either.
So what exactly could Nessie be? Some say it's a relic from our prehistoric past, trapped by the gradual closing of the loch, and now lurking in the 1,000-foot deep waters beyond human sight. Others maintain that the monster sightings can all be explained by otters, or eels, or even floating logs. And perhaps a drop or two of Scotland's famous whiskey as well. But one thing is for sure. Until we have solid proof, one way or the other, the mystery of the monster will live on in the deep, cold waters of Loch Ness. It was a crisp December day in 1872, and for Captain David Morehouse and the crew of the Dei Gratia, it seemed a routine voyage. Sailing from New York to Gibraltar in a square-rigged brigantine, the weather was fine enough, and the captain expected to arrive on schedule without any major incidents. Yet the Dei Gratia was about to sail into history and take part in one of the most baffling mysteries of all time.
Vessel up the port bow, sir.
Yes, I see her. Square-rigged brig, I should say, heading due east.
Sails look right to me, sir. She's listing. Maybe she's in need of help. What do you think, sir?
Better call the captain.
Aye, sir. Boy,
Yes, sir?
compliments to the captain. Would he please join us on deck? Be off with you.
Yes, sir.
It's better be worth disturbing me dinner, second mate.
Sir, there's a brig to port, and I believe she may be in some sort of trouble.
Well, let's see about that. For God's here's a messenger, she lads. Not a soul to be seen. Stay 10 degrees port, prepare a boarding party. Come on, look lively now.
Captain Morehouse and his crew put on sail, and within an hour or so had drawn alongside the mystery ship.
Brig ahoy! Brig ahoy! This is the Dei Gratia running out of New York bound for Gibraltar. Can we give you assistance? Is there anyone on board? Ahoy!
No answer, sir.
I thought as much.
Lower the gaff boat.
We're going across to see what manner of mystery this can be. She's just wallowing, sir. Sails are torn to shreds. Can't see a single sail aboard, neither.
You're right, Johnson. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Hand me the glass. I want to see the name of this floating puzzle. There it is. Mary Celeste, New York. Hello? Is there anyone here?
No sign of any living person on deck, sir. I sent 2 men below to carry on searching just in case.
And not a soul in here either, by God.
Look, sir. Bread and fruit here on the table. All pretty fresh. And here, breakfast for someone. But I've hardly eaten a thing. Wherever they are, they're not long gone, I'll be bound. Now, what's this? Oh, here's a log, sir. Oh, maybe this will tell us the meaning of this mystery.
The ship's log contained complete entries up till 10 days before Johnson and his crewmates stepped aboard. There was no sign of any trouble, and no reason given as to why the entries stopped so abruptly. However, when the boarding party had finished their inspection, it was clear that a small boat, normally lashed to the deck as a lifeboat, was missing. So, the crew of the Mary Celeste had abandoned ship. But when? And more important, yet seemingly unanswerable, why? This was the tantalizing question that the Vice Admiralty Court in Gibraltar wanted to know too. Captain Morehouse had detailed some of his crew to bring the Mary Celeste into port behind his own ship. But, far from meeting a hero's welcome and a handsome salvage reward, the captain was hastily brought before the judge to face an incredible series of accusations.
Silence in court! Silence! So, it is true, Captain Morehouse, that you and Captain Benjamin Briggs of the Mary Celeste were indeed old acquaintances before this unfortunate incident.
Oh, we were.
I put it to you that you and Captain Briggs did nothing less than hatch the devil's own conspiracy to steal for yourself the cargo and claim the Mary Celeste herself. That's outrageous! Silence! And what is more, the unfortunate crew of the Mary Celeste have not disappeared, as you maintain, but were in fact the hapless victims of your own murderous crew.
I shall have to clear the court.
Happily, Captain Morehouse was cleared of all these far-fetched charges, and indeed was presented with a small salvage reward. The Mary Celeste herself sailed on into a troubled period of bankrupt owners, shipwrecks, and fires on board. She became known as the ship with a dreaded jinx. Finally, she was deliberately scuttled on a coral reef in the Caribbean Sea. There she rotted, and the secret of her vanished crew went down with her forever to a watery grave. But the question remains, why should the crew of a seaworthy ship abandon her in mid-ocean, knowing that to do so meant almost certain death in their frail craft? Why did they take no supplies of food and water? What nameless terror overcame Captain Briggs and his experienced crew, sending them into a blind panic that cost them all their lives? What is time? A stupid question, you may say, since we all live in time and experience it every day. Yet it remains one of the great unsolved puzzles of mankind. It has been called the fourth dimension, a line like the height or width of a house, yet only a single point in time, the present, is visible to us at once. Or is it? Once in a while, our ideas of time are shattered by people who seem to have an amazing gift to look deep into the future and to make detailed predictions. Predictions which have already proved to be astoundingly true. These are the prophets who have opened a window onto the future, a window we can all look through, if only we are prepared to open our minds. The most famous fortune teller who ever lived was born in France at the beginning of the 16th century. At that time, the country was ravaged by the plague, which had already carried off the man's wife and 2 baby sons. But he had been a brilliant student of medicine and was determined to do his utmost for his people.
Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead!
Sire, there's more of them outside, and they're fit to break down the door if I don't let them in.
All right, Jean-Paul. Just one more tonight, and then we must both rest. God knows there'll be enough miserable wretches waiting tomorrow.
Monsieur Nostradamus? Oh, God bless you, sir. Have mercy upon a humble Frenchwoman and her child.
Greetings, sister. Now, let me see the child. Now, listen carefully. Your son will live, but only if you follow my instructions without fail.
But the good Dr. Nostradamus knew he had an even greater power, which he must practice throughout the land. And that was the astonishing capacity to foretell the future. It was to amaze every generation right up to the present time. For the next 15 years or so, Nostradamus traveled through France and Italy, where his predictions soon became famous for their uncanny accuracy. This is how he foresaw the death of Henry II of France, for example.
The young lion shall overcome the old in a warlike field in a single fight. In a golden cage he will pierce the eye, 2 wounds in one, then die a cruel death.
In 1559, just a few years later, King Henry was jousting with the youthful captain of his royal guard. As the 2 riders closed in on each other, the onlookers gasped in horror as the captain's lance splintered and crashed through the king's cage-like visor. Henry was carried from the field with 2 wounds, in the eye and throat, and he died in cruel pain not long after. Nostradamus's long books of prophecies have been studied by every generation since then. They seem to predict, in riddles and poetry, many of the great events of the future. The great 1666 plague and fire of London.
Burned by fire in thrice 20 and 6.
The rise of Hitler.
He will stretch the borders of Germany and will cause France to be divided into 2 parts.
Man's landing on the moon.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
He will come to take himself to the corners of Luna.
That's one small step for man. One giant leap for mankind.
And even a terrible Third World War at the end of this century. Yet perhaps one of the most convincing demonstrations of Nostradamus' power came in his own lifetime, when he was the guest of a wealthy French baron who liked to scoff at the good doctor's claims.
So, you want me to believe that the future is within your view, eh, Nostradamus? And why should I believe any such thing, pray? I can tell you it's hard enough to be sure my cattle and pigs will fatten well by next spring. Let alone decide the fate of the world. Come, what do you say?
Sir, for those who can see the future, it is there for the seeing.
Never heard so much nonsense in my life. What about these pigs of mine, then? Can your precious vision tell me their fate? Or will you spin me your riddles about them, too?
Go on, then, you tell him.
Sir, I tell you that you will eat the black one, and the wolf will eat the white one.
Oh, so that's your prophecy, is it? Very well. Bailiff!
Sire?
We will dine on pork tonight. Take the white pig, the one that my learned friend here would give to the wolves, and have him slaughtered without delay.
Yes, sire, at once.
And you, Nostradamus, I fancy you'll be eating your words tonight. And I trust my illustrious guest is enjoying the fine dish of pork set before him. I always prefer the flesh of a white pig myself. Don't you agree, Nostradamus?
This is not the white pig's flesh, sir. It is from the black, as I foretold.
Come now, my friend. Will you not accept defeat with good grace? Admit it. You were wrong about my pigs, just as you are wrong about all your so-called prophecies.
It is the black pig, sir. I am not mistaken.
What, would you doubt my word? I will show you some manners. Summon my bailiff. Not mistaken, indeed. Bailiff, did I not order you to slaughter and serve the white pig for dinner tonight?
Yes, my lord.
And did you not do so?
The white pig was indeed slaughtered, my lord.
Well?
Sire, the cook, he has been severely flogged.
What do you mean? Out with it, or you shall taste the lash as well.
The kitchen was left unguarded, sire, and the carcass was stolen by a wolf.
What? And the pork here at this table?
Sire, I could not leave the plate of my lord's table empty. It is the black pig.
Paris, 1703. It is the age of Louis XIV, the glorious Sun King himself. France is a proud and successful nation, and Paris, her capital, one of Europe's most glittering cities. Yet in the great fortified prison of the Bastille, there is hidden a secret so well kept that it is known only to a handful of the most powerful men in France. It is a secret that will die with them, and it lies concealed in the identity of one man, the prisoner they call the Man in the Iron Mask.
Let me help you to your bed, sir.
Oh, thank you, Monsieur Governor. You are most kind.
Sir, you're not well.
Just a little fever, I think. The chapel is confounded cold at this time of year. And at my age, you know, one really...
Warder! Warder! Sir? Make haste and fetch the doctor. The ancient prisoner has been struck down, and I fear for his life.
At once, sir.
Sir, do hear me. Speak if you live, for God's sake. Dead. And so dies the greatest secret that I or France could ever know.
But the death of the Man in the Iron Mask did nothing to put an end to the puzzle. Who was he? Why had he been imprisoned? And for what extraordinary reason was his identity never, on pain of death, to be revealed? Our story begins on the remote island of St. Margaret, off the French Mediterranean coast. To the prison here, a handsome and noble figure of a man was brought, in great secrecy and under heavy armed guard.
Well, I call it your rum business and no mistake. I've never seen the like in all my years.
You speak of our prisoner?
Oh, I do. And that infernal mask. His belly human to look at.
Yet he's flesh and blood under the steel, right enough. And we've had orders to shoot if ever he tries to take it off. Not that he has, of course. Seems like a proper gentleman to me. No trouble at all. They do say that the king himself gave instructions to Harry's to be treated like a lord, with fine clothes and silver in his cell, only the best food, hardly like a prisoner at all, except for the mask.
Oh, it's damn funny, I say. And there's no good in it, I'll wager.
Well, good or no good, we've arrived. Old Iron Mask is about to discover his new home.
The mysterious faceless prisoner remained on the island of St. Margaret for nearly 30 years. During that time, he never removed the mask, which some said was of steel with a sprung chin-piece, while others described it as made of black velvet. Nor did the prisoner ever speak of himself or the reasons for his imprisonment. But the warders noticed that he was often attended by the prison governor in person, and that on one occasion he was visited by no less than the Minister of War. Only once was the secret of the mask nearly revealed.
What is it, old man?
I must see the governor. Let me in.
It's only Pierre, the fisherman. What's your catch, Pierre?
What's your business?
I have something to show him. Something of great importance.
What is this something? We have fish aplenty.
Oh, you must let me in, or live to regret it.
Live to regret it, eh? Well, if you must, you must. You say that someone threw a silver platter out of the prison windows down onto the beach?
That's right, sir. I got it here, sir.
Let me see. Good Lord, this could be a disaster. Have you read this message, my man?
Message, sir?
Yes, have you read the writing on this platter? Well, have you?
I beg pardon, sir. I can't read, sir.
Ah, you are lucky, old man. Your lack of learning has just saved your life.
After that close call, the mysterious prisoner never again attempted to break his silence. And when he died in Paris, he was buried quietly at night under a false name. His secret had been kept to the last. Yet the questions remain. Was the man in the iron mask perhaps a son of King Louis XIV, born outside his marriage? Was he, as some have suggested, the king's twin brother? Or, most amazing possibility of all, was he the true Sun King, doomed to imprisonment and silence for life to protect an impostor? And whatever the answer, can we believe that the secret really died on that winter's day so long ago? Could it be that the true story has been passed down the generations to the present day, and that someone, somewhere, still holds the secret of the man in the iron mask? Early in the last century, London and other parts of England were prey to one of the most terrifying and murderous visitors ever recorded. Its victims always reported the same nightmarish scene. Each one had been approached by a tall figure, sometimes cloaked, with eyes that glowed like balls of fire, and a mouth that spat flames into the darkness. This apparition would leap from nowhere upon the victim, savagely mauling him or her before making its escape with superhuman leaps and bounds, often over the very tops of houses, and disappearing into the night. As the attacks multiplied, the man, or monster that was terrorizing London, became known as Spring-Heeled Jack. Men and women were attacked with terrible frequency, some killed, some left for dead. And always the survivors told the same tale of a monstrous, leaping figure that seemed hardly human at all. One night in 1840, at a house in Bow, East London, it was the turn of Jane Alsop to meet her appointment with fear.
Oh, it's late for a visitor on a wild night like this. Oh, All right, I'm just coming. Yes?
Help me. I'm a policeman. We've apprehended Spring Heel Jack here in the street. Fetch a light.
Oh, yeah, of course. Here's a candle, Constable. Hurry. Oh, let go, mate.
Jane Alsop was rescued in the nick of time. She, too, described in horrific detail the eyes of fire, the icy claws she had so narrowly escaped. But despite the dozens of attacks and sightings, all in remarkable agreement about the appearance and phenomenal agility of Spring-Heeled Jack, no explanation was ever found for his sinister visits. One extraordinary theory from recent times has even suggested that he was a visitor from another planet, with some sort of control over gravity itself. How else to explain the great leaps, like our own astronauts on the moon, and his unearthly, fiery eyes? Whatever the truth, Spring-Heeled Jack was fated to make another appearance, this time in southwest England, during the worst winter in living memory.
Good morning, Mr. Faraday.
Why, hello, young Tommy. What brings you out so early on this bitter morning?
I'm hunting, Mr. Faraday.
Hunting, eh? What do you expect to catch amid all this snow? Penguins, I suppose?
I don't know exactly, but I'm following these tracks to find out.
What tracks, Tom? Good Lord. I see. I've never come across a trail like that before.
Come on, Mr. Faraday. I'll show you where they do go up the wall.
Yeah, wait, I'm coming.
See? Up they go.
Straight up the side of the wall. It must be 8 feet at least.
And across the roof. There.
There, come, Tom. Let's get inside now. There's something or someone abroad here that I, for one, don't like the look of at all.
Detective Russell, heading the Scotland Yard police squad set up to catch the leaping beast, was particularly interested in the events in Devon.
Listen to this, Sergeant. According to our correspondent, similar tracks have been discovered the length and breadth of the county of Devon. The prints are most unusual, if not completely unique, and certainly unidentified so far. Witnesses say they appear to be those of a hoofed animal walking on 2 legs. Yet walking may be a poor description of a trail that passes over rooftops, across rivers, even right through a haystack, and covers more than 100 miles in a single night. All attempts to locate the source of these mysterious markings have so far failed entirely. That's the same story in all the papers, Sergeant. What do you make of it all, then?
Well, sir, I'd say the good folk of Devon have been led a pretty dance. But by what? Well, I couldn't guess.
But just think, this is a creature that can bound the highest wall, run like the wind, and seems to behave like a mad thing. What conclusion can you draw from that?
Dear God. Not him, surely.
Yes, Sergeant. Spring-Heeled Jack himself, I'm sure of it. And if I'm right, the people of Devon had better lock their doors until we've tracked him down.
But Detective Russell never had that satisfaction. The Devon snows melted, and with them went any chance of tracing the mysterious tracks to their lair. Spring-Heeled Jack himself appeared just once again, in Liverpool, where horrified locals were confronted with a wild figure leaping from street to rooftop and down again. They tried to corner the beast, but it vanished. This time, never to be seen again. Or should I say, so far. Have you ever thought what it's like to actually sight a flying saucer? Literally thousands of ordinary people claim to have done so, yet there is still a frustrating lack of real hard evidence. Why is this? Are the so-called saucers really a delusion, seen only by people who want to see something? Anything? On the other hand, are the saucers real enough? but deliberately keeping us in suspense for their own reasons. Or maybe the authorities on Earth are keeping the true facts from us out of fear that we will all panic if we are told the truth. Whatever the reasons, alien spacecraft are a reality for the many witnesses who are convinced they have seen a saucer. People like Norman Mascarello, whose sighting 20 years ago still cannot be explained. Norman had been hitchhiking home late one night, just before his life changed forever.
A couple of miles to go now, I guess. Just my luck to get no lift at all. Gee, it's so dark. No, there's a light. Come on, this way, buddy. I need that ride. Ah, it's not gonna stop. My God, the lights! That's no car! Open up! Open up! No one in. I gotta find someone. The road. Help! Help! Stop! Please stop! Look, I gotta get the police. Can you take me? It's an emergency.
Boy, you sure had some fright, son. You better get in.
Patrol 15, come in, over.
Roger, base station, receiving you.
Say, Eugene, we got a report here of some kind of flying saucer in your vicinity. You can't confirm any such thing, can you?
I believe I can. We just spoken with a woman driving on Route 150, claims she was followed by a large airborne object. Believe we may have a genuine UFO sighting on our hands.
Roger.
Norman Mascarello, the frightened young man who made the first report, was hastily driven to the scene of the distressed lady's encounter, and he and the patrolman together walked into the field where Norman had seen the saucer.
About here, you reckon, son?
Yes, sir, right here. Hey, there it is again, over there!
Back to the car! Get down! Patrol 15 calling base station, over.
Receiving you, Patrol 15.
Now listen, get this. We located the saucer and it's hovering right above our heads. I don't believe it. That's the size of a house, easy, with plenty colored lights like some fairground machine. And it ain't moving. It's just like staring at us. You gotta see more cars. Now I know we're not alone.
That's how real a close encounter can be. But if the Earth is visited by craft from space, as often as it seems, couldn't we expect one to land? Or if their pilots for some reason don't desire such contact, isn't it likely that sooner or later one of these saucers will actually crash? The answer to both questions is yes. Many landings have been reported, but, again, the hard evidence is often missing. However, when saucers have crashed, the evidence is there for all to see. Bill Brazel was a rancher in the deserts of New Mexico. Some 40 years ago, after hearing a strange explosion during the night, Brazel rode out to investigate. What he found was to start a UFO puzzle. For scattered across his ranch were shattered fragments of a weird craft, shiny foil covered in indecipherable signs, some unidentifiable and unbreakable components, and, incredibly, beings, not human, lying in the remains of their craft. Some of them were obviously still alive. Rancher Brazel rode back home and into a full-scale military alert. Rescue vehicles and ambulances descended on the ranch, and the entire area was cordoned off. Bill Brazel himself was interviewed in depth by top officials, then ordered to keep quiet. Press information was hurriedly prepared to show that the rancher had found nothing more mysterious than a wrecked weather-tracking balloon.
Is this thing working? Can you all hear me? Okay, boys, far away. I'm only joking, fellas.
Can you confirm that a spacecraft has crashed in the desert and the U.S. Air Force has rescued alien beings from the wreckage?
I can confirm that these rumors are completely unfounded. Our operatives have located the remains of a U.S. weather balloon, and recent speculation about little green men from Mars are, of course, completely ridiculous.
We have eyewitness reports of bodies removed from the crash area.
I believe some cattle were injured in the incident, yes.
Bodies with arms and legs and large heads, still breathing.
Say, boy, you heard of desert mirages?
But the story didn't end there. Too many people were involved, and inevitably the details began to leak out. And it was a truly astounding picture that emerged. The craft that the rescue team found had been in the form of a metallic disc, about 12 meters in diameter. Inside the broken hull was a cabin, some 5 meters wide, containing what appeared to be seats and controls, although the symbols and marks with which they were covered were unintelligible. Most important, however, was the fact that in this cabin were seated 6 occupants. And those occupants were definitely not human. One witness described the alien figures as smaller than an adult human, with large, hairless head and small, wide-set eyes. Incidentally, a description that is often given by those who claim to have encountered saucer crew. What is more, certain of the aliens who crash-landed on the ranch were said to be alive when found, though they died later in a military hospital. All in all, the whole episode points to a top-level cover-up. And there are many who claim that the world's leaders have long known of alien visits and have chosen to conceal the facts from the rest of us. What do you think? Is it possible that in all the infinity of space, one planet has developed a civilization 10 or 100 times as advanced as our own? I believe that it's not only possible, it's a certainty. Keep watching the skies. They're out there, somewhere. I hope you've enjoyed my little selection of mysteries and conundrums. The scientists may think they can discover all there is to know about this world and the universe, but some of us have different ideas. Maybe you do, too. Because we know there are many riddles that won't go away. Evidence that doesn't fit, facts that are hushed up, ideas that are so far out that no one wants to face up to them. We know that the truth is infinitely stranger than mere human minds can imagine, and that an awful lot of mysteries still remain to be solved.